How does an attractive, popular student walk out of a pub on a night out on the town and just disappear? It happens more than you would think. The case of Frauke Liebs' murder is as complex and tragic now as it was in 2006. Stay tuned for the official story, the theories surrounding the case, and what bad things thinks most likely happened. Bars in the West German city of Paderborn were packed on June 20th, 2006 to watch the World Cup match between England and Sweden. Frauke Liebs, a 21-year-old nursing student, joined her friends at the Old Triangle, an Irish pub, to watch the match. While there, her cell phone battery ran flat. She was texting a new friend, or possibly a new love interest, known as Niels M. Luckily, she was able to borrow a friend's battery, which she returned to her at the end of the night. At about 11 o'clock, she set out on the 1.5-kilometer walk back to her apartment. At 0049, Frauke texted her roommate, Chris, who was also her ex-boyfriend, approximately 2 hours after she left the pub, to say she would be returning home soon. Police would later track this call to the city of Nielheim, which was around 40 minutes' drive from where she was last seen. Frauke never came home, and after missing work in the morning, her mother reported her missing. Friends believe Frauke probably didn't have more than €5 on her, and it made little sense for her to have driven by taxi to her apartment. However, none of her friends or any witnesses could confirm that she left the pub on foot. Chris began receiving some odd texts and phone calls from Frauke's phone over the days following her disappearance. The first call took place the evening of the day after she vanished, from a location south of Paderborn. In this brief call, Frauke reassured Chris that she was doing okay. When he questioned where she was, Frauke told him to tell her parents that she was okay, and then hung up the phone. She used Chris's given name, Christos, which she never did, unless she was angry at him. Chris got a text from Frauke's phone again the following night, but this time it was tracked to a different part of the city. Frauke repeated her promise to return home in the message. Frauke's brother Frank phoned to check on her after hearing that she had contacted Chris. Frauke would tell her brother, "I'm coming home, not too late. I'm in Paderborn. Don't ask, I will be coming home." Transcripts from calls to Chris on June 24th and 25th have never been disclosed, although they were once again traced to various areas in the city. Karen, Frauke's sister, was with Chris for the last call on the evening of June 27th. Frauke's speech pattern and answers seemed weird and not like her, according to Chris and Karen. Her last call went as follows. Chris: Frauke? Karen is here too. Frauke: Are mom and dad there too? No, they're gone already. Hey, I'll just put you on speakers. Frauke: Is Karen close to you? Chris: Yes. Frauke: I'd like to talk to her, please. Karen: Hello, Frauke. How are you? Frauke: Please don't ask. Karen: Are you tired? You sure sound tired. Frauke: Yeah, please tell everyone I love them really much. Karen: When are you coming home? Frauke: I got to hang up. Please hand the phone over to Chris. Chris: You've got to tell me where you are. Frauke: I can't. Chris: Are you held captive? Frauke, sighing quietly: Yes. Louder: No. Chris: Who's with you? Frauke: I can't tell you. Chris: Have you met some other guy? Frauke: You know I'd never stay away from home for a week just because of some guy. You know me. I've got to go. Chris: When will you call again? Frauke: I'm not sure. Chris: Please call every day. Frauke: Yes, I will. Ciao. Bye for now. There would be no more contact between Frauke, Chris, or any of her other loved ones. A hunter found Frauke's skeletonized bones on October 4th in a rural region near Lichtenau, roughly 20 kilometers from where she was last seen. Her skeleton was still dressed in the clothes that she wore on the night she disappeared after leaving the pub. None of her belongings, including her phone, purse, watch, or wallet, were found with her remains. No human DNA or other evidence was recovered at the location, and the decomposition of her remains made it impossible to tell when or how she had died. Although stabbing, shooting, or strangulation was excluded as a cause of death, experts thought that suffocation could have been the possible cause. Forensic experts said it was unlikely that her murder took place where she was discovered. Based on the location of the first text message tracked from Frauke's phone, police concluded that she had been held hostage in the Nielheim region and that the other calls made from different areas had been made to divert their attention from that area. In all, 900 people were questioned by police, which was later narrowed down to 5 suspects. All 5 of these suspects were able to produce solid alibis that excluded them from being on the authorities' radar. With thousands of man-hours spent and hundreds of suspects questioned, police were no closer to finding her killer than when Frauke went missing. When law enforcement does not come up with answers, rest assured the internet will try and theories will fly. This case is no different. Here are 2 theories that have been put forward by true crime sleuths, and keep watching for what the Bad Things crew think most likely happened to Frauke Liebs. Theory number 1. Niels M. The first port of call for investigators in any investigation concerning a missing or murdered woman is the husband, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, or the new man in her life. The police would zone in on the man Frauke was messaging during the football and has only been identified as Niels M. According to Niels, he and Frauke were in the initial stages of a blossoming relationship. I had known Frauke for a few weeks. She was totally nice. My late shift went until 10:15 p.m. After that, I went to play billiards with my work colleague, and meanwhile I texted with Frauke. She wrote that she would cook for me with Isabella. I replied, "I'd love that, but then you have to wear something decent." This remark later became my misfortune. I was frequently interrogated. Police dug into Niels's life and unearthed that he had, in the year before meeting Frauke, suffered a traumatic event that police would use to construct a motive pointing to him as the suspect. They speculated that I had a crack. My buddy didn't have a girlfriend when he ended his life. Did he kill himself because of that? Whether I now had a hatred for women, whether I wanted to take revenge, whether we had both been gay. Niels even admitted that he understood why the police paid so much attention to him. Practically everything applied to me. He doesn't know her for long, had just had a traumatic incident, maybe a little crazy, has written her messages, went on a picnic with her 2 days before, lives in Hervelhof, which is near the radio cell Sennelager, goes to the Düren cemetery at night. I would have suspected me too. Niels M. was thoroughly investigated by police and, due to his alibi and lack of DNA evidence, was provisionally cleared. Theory number 2. Vincent Tabak killed Frauke. On December 17, 2010, landscape architect Joanna Yeats disappeared from her home in Bristol, England, where she and her companion shared an apartment. Her remains were found in Fayland, North Somerset, on December 25, 2010, following police investigations and a widely publicized appeal for information regarding her whereabouts. It was determined through a post-mortem examination that she had been strangled. Initially, the police suspected and apprehended Yeats's landlord, Christopher Jeffries, who lived in an apartment within the same building as Yeats. Jeffries was later cleared of any wrongdoing. On January 20, 2011, Vincent Tabak, a Dutch architectural engineer who lived in a third apartment in the building, was taken into custody. A female caller provided an anonymous tip that led to the apprehension of Tabak, shortly after Yeats's parents made a televised appeal on Crime Watch. A DNA analysis was conducted by an independent company specializing in forensic research for criminal inquiries. The results of the company verified what the police had previously suspected. We couldn't say whether the DNA was from saliva or semen or even touch, but we could say that the probability of it not being a match with Tabak was less than 1 in a billion. Vincent Tabak pled guilty to manslaughter of Yeats on May 5, 2011, but disputed responsibility for her murder. Some true crime enthusiasts have theorized that Tabak killed Frauke. The theory that Tabak killed Frauke stems solely on geography and a move to a new country, and in our opinion is a far reach when it comes to his viability as a suspect. Tabak lived less than 150 miles from where Frauke's body was dumped. Those believing this theory also believe that his move to the UK from the Netherlands in 2007 was a result of Tabak trying to distance himself from the murder. We told you this one would be a far reach. If you have heard any other theories about the murder of Frauke Liebs, please share them with us in the comments section below. We would love to hear them. If you are a true crime addict, you will know who Fred and Rose West were. The German equivalent brings us to what most likely happened to Frauke Liebs. Frauke's case went cold for 10 years until 2 arrests put the Liebs case back in the spotlight. On April 21, 2016, at 10:30 at night, a woman rang the doorbell at a house in the small town of Len, just before the town of Bad Gendersheim. Angelika Wagner said her car had broken down and asked if she could call a taxi. Then she changed her mind. No taxi, an ambulance should be called. The ambulance arrived and a woman close to death was found lying in the back seat of the car. Suzanne F., as she would be known, was in a terrible state. There were wounds to her entire body, bruising, signs of being bound, toenails that had been pulled out, and rotting flesh on the tailbone area. Suzanne F. would have had to have been lying in the same position for weeks, according to doctors. Her health was in such a bad state that it was not possible to save her life, and she later died. Authorities were called in and quickly tracked down the couple in the broken-down car. Angelika and Wilfried Wagner were promptly arrested, and they immediately turned on each other, claiming that their partner had inflicted the bodily harm that resulted in Suzanne F.'s death. What authorities would find in the couple's home near the town of Höxter in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia would shock them and the German nation. Suzanne F. wasn't the only one. Using personal ads, the couple allegedly enticed women to their home. The police discovered that the couple had placed advertisements in newspapers throughout Germany and as far as Prague. One ad read, "Farmer is looking for a woman. A nice, tender man is looking for a woman for a long-term relationship." Women replying to these ads would step straight into their worst nightmares. In their home, authorities found hundreds of pieces of paper on which Wilfried and Angelika forced the victims to swear that they had inflicted all of their injuries on themselves. Crystal P. was one such woman. Wilfried changed her to a pigsty with handcuffs mere hours after she entered the house. She was made to stand barefoot in excrement while wearing only her undergarments. After being denied access to the bathroom, she was forced to use the cat's litter box out of desperation. She was restricted to sleeping beneath the computer workstation, and her purse, mobile phone, driver's license, and bank cards were taken away from her. Crystal P. was the sole survivor and witness to the events that transpired within the House of Horrors, and would be a star witness for the couple's trial. Annika W. wasn't so lucky. According to a statement by Angelika during one of Annika W.'s escape attempts, after she had been chained for weeks by the hands and feet lying face down in a bathtub, she fell and banged her head in the yard. Her body was then placed in a deep freezer, after which it was sawn up and burned in the oven. Bone fragments and teeth were smashed with a hammer. Wilfried and Angelika Wagner's trial began in the jury chamber of the Paderborn Regional Court on October 26, 2016. Frauke went missing in Paderborn. Could there be a link to the Wagner couple? It is quite possible that she was just one of the many women abducted, tortured, and killed by the couple, due to the proximity of their home to Paderborn and cell phone records. An investigation into Wilfried's whereabouts and cell phone usage in June 2006 unveiled a startling resemblance to Frauke's. Wilfried's whereabouts, according to his mobile phone, matched Frauke's for the days in question, and he likely used one of the many cars he rented to abduct, possibly kill, and dump her where the body was found. While his ex-wife said far more than 2 women fell victim to them, it is difficult for her to identify the others. Hoogstert, where the Wageners' crimes took place, is right next to Nieheim, the same Nieheim where the police suspected Frauke was held. After a 2-year trial, the couple were convicted for their crimes. Wilfried was sentenced to 11 years in a psychiatric ward, while Angelica was sentenced to 13 years in prison. Angelica apologized to her victims during her sentencing. As for her ex-husband, he reportedly commented, "I didn't know right from wrong," and added that therapy wouldn't be bad. It's been 17 years since Frauke Liebs' death, and police still have no concrete evidence in relation to a suspect. Maybe, as in many other cases, new DNA technology will bring Frauke's killer to justice.